go.
Do you remember the radio?
Oh, hang on a sec. Yes, I think this is the one.
Got the right one?
Of course, mate. What do you take me for, man? Am I cool, girl?
Today we're using Spektrum Smart batteries because we smart. Remote on first. Plug the battery in and turn the car on. Joe?
You bought the wrong radio!
I bought the wrong radio. How many times have you guys done that? Taken the wrong transmitter? Let us know in the comments, we bet there's a few.
So today we're going to cover a single upgrade that will cover all your Horizon ground vehicles, in fact all your RC cars and trucks, and that is the Spektrum DX5 Rugged. Later on in the video I'll show you how to do a full setup with AVC and everything with a Horizon product like this low-C laser nut, but before we get to a full setup first we'll go over some of the features.
The Spektrum DX5 Rugged is a 5-channel ground vehicle transmitter. It comes in 3 colours. It comes in this really nice green, which is limited edition, and it also comes in an orange and a black. The only thing with the limited edition is it does not come with a receiver.
As the name suggests, this is rugged. It's built to be durable, survive some drops and splashes. It's not waterproof though, and it does have rubber protection around the edges of this radio for extra protection.
It has a nice big LCD screen here and a touchpad below for easy navigation through the settings, which Joe is going to show you shortly.
It's a great radio for you fellow YouTubers out there, also for anyone that likes to film their RC, because of 2 reasons. One, you can drive it one-handed because there's a little notch that comes out from the steering wheel, and secondly, where you've got this little brace, you can take that off and then it's going to mount there, so you can put like a GoPro or a camera to your radio to make it easier for filming when alone.
We also have a little compartment at the back here for storing screws, small tools, and there's also a port for when you want to update your firmware. And a really cool feature with this radio is you can store up to 20 models on this thing, which Joe is going to show you how to do right now.
I'm now going to show you how to set up your radio with your RC car. Now this radio is compatible with the Spektrum DSMR and the older Spektrum DSM2 receivers, and all this information that we're going to go through today is found in the instruction manual that comes with the radio. To turn on the radio, you've got your on switch on the side here. The first screen that will come up is the main display, and you'll see down here we have our touchpad. So to go down, you scroll down. To go up, you scroll up, and that will take you through the different pages. And to select, you simply tap on the OK. You've got back and clear as well. So we've already set this up with the Outcast 8S. We're now going to set up with a new RC car, the low-C laser nut. So go ahead and press OK. This will take you to your menu. Scroll down 1 to model select, press OK. Scroll down 1 and go add new. Create. Now we've created a new model, so if we go back here you'll see new model, but we want to change that to make more sense for us. So scroll down to model name, press OK, and this is where you can change the name to the laser nut. And you'll see we've now set up laser nut. Now you can only get 7 characters after the number, so that's why we've abbreviated slightly. Now go ahead and press the back button on your touchpad. That will bring you back to the menu. Now it's time to bind your radio to the receiver. First get your bind plug and plug it into the bind port on your receiver. Then you want to plug your battery into the car. Now hold the bind button on the receiver and turn the car on at the same time. You'll see the light flashing. That means the receiver is now in bind mode. Scroll down until you find bind/frame, hit OK. Now we want the frame rate at 11 milliseconds because this is a DSMR receiver. Scroll down to bind, hit OK. And the radio is now bound to the receiver for the car. Now before you do anything else, you need to go full throttle, hold it, release, full reverse, hold it, release, full right, hold it, release, full left, hold it, release, Now your receiver is fully calibrated and it's time to turn off the RC, remove the bind plug and turn the car back on. Now before we do anything else in setting up AVC, it's very important that we get the servo direction correct, the travel and the sub trim, so we're going to do that now. First we're going to check that the servo direction is correct, so I'm turning left, wheels turn left, turning right, wheels turn right, so that's good. If that was going in the opposite direction like it did with the Outcast, go to menu, go down to reverse, okay, and then you would simply reverse your servo from normal to reverse, and now you'll see it's going to incorrect, but I'm turning left but the wheels are turning right. The next item we want to set up is travel, so press OK on travel. And what travel is it's the maximum deflection that we get of the servo when moving the control wheel to its full position. So right now we've got it set to 100, so the wheels are moving 100%. Now that might be true and it might not be. Sometimes 100 isn't enough, there's still a bit of movement available. Now to figure that out, if we go to full left deflection, we can see, and lifting it up can also help as well, so there's no friction. If we move the steering wheel a little bit towards the end, there's still movement in the wheels. Now that's a good thing, it's saying that the wheels haven't been restricted yet. But that means that possibly there's more travel available. So to figure that out, you go down to your travel, and we're going left, and we're going to increase that, press OK, and you have a maximum value of 150. Now if you notice your wheels moving at this point, that would mean that there's still more travel available. In this case, the wheels didn't move at all from 100 to 150. So that would suggest that 100 is its maximum travel. But we're going to go down a little bit. Now I've got the wheel at full deflection to the left, and as we bring the travel down, if we see the wheel starting to move, that means we no longer have its maximum deflection potential. So let's go down. And you may not have seen on the camera, but the wheel moved slightly as I went from 100 to 90. So I'm actually restricting the maximum potential of the turning. We want the maximum potential, so we're going to set it to 100. That seemed to be perfect when turning left. Now this could be different for right, so you do all of that again for the right hand side. Now in this example, the travel happens to be exactly 100 for both left and right. That might not be the case for your RC car, so make sure you do check your travel settings. The next item we want to set up is the sub trim, but before we do that, we want to disable AVC or turn the gains down to 0. So to do that, scroll down to AVC, press OK. Then you want to have the switch on, come down, and then you can set your gains and throttle gain and priority right here, or you can assign them to a switch. So we're going to assign them to a switch to make it easy. So press OK on inhibit and scroll until you find the switch you want. So you have two options, either C or D. So for our steering gain, we're going to use C. This is the C button here. Now if I press that up, it's going down on the AVC, and that doesn't really make sense to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse that direction by going over to that little arrow and changing the direction. Now when I go up on the C switch, it's increasing my steering gain, down will decrease the steering gain, and do the same for throttle gain. Now using my switch, I'm going to hold this down, and that's going to reduce my steering gain all the way down to 0. Same with the throttle gain. You can leave priority where it is for this, for setting up your sub trim. Now a quick check to make sure AVC is not on. You can just move your car around left and right and you see the wheels are not moving. Now at this point you drive it on a flat surface and get the car trimmed perfectly by using your sub trim setting. And for us to require 36 units to the right for our sub trim. Once you've set up your travel, sub trim and reverse, you now want to rebind your RC car exactly the same way that we did earlier on. Okay, now that we've rebound our radio after setting the sub trim, the travel and the reverse of the servos, we can now get our AVC set up. So we've already assigned switches to the AVC previously, and you'll see auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2. Auxiliary 1 is set up with the steering AVC, and then the auxiliary 2 is set up with your throttle AVC. So for C, we set that up for steering. You can see it's at minus 100 right now. You can see both are set at minus 100, so they're completely off. If we want to increase them, so now you'll see they're at 50. And when you turn, you'll see auxiliary 1 changes, and that's due to the priority. So at full deflection, we have 100% priority goes to our input, and there's going to be no input from the gyro. And then as we start to change our steering setting, there's going to be more and more input from the gyro until we get to center. At the center point, you'll get maximum use of the gyro to help keep your RC car going nice and straight. Now if we keep going through our settings, we can now set things like the speed, so you can set the speed of your steering if you want it to slow down or speed up your steering. Rates, so we use rates to get a maximum percentage of that travel. So right now steering rate is set to 100% of that travel that we set earlier. If we wanted to reduce our steering rate for whatever reason, maybe you're giving it to someone else and it was a little bit too sensitive for them, you could reduce that steering rate for them. You can do the same for throttle. So this is where you'd come, if you're giving it to your mate or your kid, you go to throttle and then you can reduce that throttle rate down from 100%. Exponential, so this is a setting that's used a lot in aircraft, and that's to reduce the sensitivity at the lower end and increase it at the high end. Now I don't really play around with expo for driving RC cars, it's just linear for me, but if you found that you were over controlling the car, then maybe it would be a good idea to increase the expo a little, but for me we just keep it all 0. Timer, this is where you can set up your timer, the duration, the switch is set to G, and whether you want it to be a countdown or a stopwatch or completely inhibit it. I'll just leave it as a stopwatch. Mixing, so this is where you can have some mixing, so if you to give it a certain amount of steering, one of the other channels could be doing something at the same time. It might be useful for perhaps four-wheel steering. AVC, we talked about that earlier, and at the moment we've got it set up to 25%. So minus 50 on this display is 25% AVC. So if we want 100%, if we want 50% AVC, we set that to 0. And we normally drive it at about 50%. Trim setup, so here we've got the steering and throttle is set to 9. That's the default setting. That's just the amount the servo will move for every click on your trim switch. If we scroll down to next, you can assign the trim switch to whichever button you desire. So we've got it set to A and B. Auxiliary assign, this is where you can set up your auxiliary 3 for something. Maybe you've got a winch or something on your RC car and you want to set a switch to it, you can do that here. Telemetry, so this is one really cool setting and that stands out for your Spektrum DX5. You want to make use of it, and to set your telemetry up, come down. Sometimes these will be all empty or they might have a few items, but what you can do is you can scroll down to setting and you can go auto config, and it will config all those options you saw prior. So now we've got the setup from 1 to 7 with smart battery information, smart ESC, etc, etc. Now let's take a look at this telemetry, what it looks like. So from your main display you scroll down and you'll first see the monitor display, and this is where you can see what's going on with your steering, your AVC, your throttle and your other auxiliary. Scroll down again, you start seeing some of the telemetry data. So if you've got that smart pack, you can see the volts, temperature of your motor, RPM. Scroll down again, you'll get more battery information, and because this is a smart battery you also get the individual volts of all the individual cells, whereas if you didn't have, if you had a regular battery, you wouldn't get this extra data, but you'll still get the total volts of your battery. We can also see how many cycles this battery has done and the temperature of it. Scrolling down you can see information on the ESC, more volts, the inputs that you're doing. Right now obviously we're doing nothing. Scroll down again, the current, maximum temperatures, your G-force. This is really cool. When I had the Outcast ADS out the other day and after some big crashes you could see the max G-force. I think we got it above 14 Gs. It's pretty cool to see. And that's all we've got set up for our telemetry. Really cool data, and what I find the most useful is your battery, seeing how much battery voltage you've got left. If you stop driving at exactly 3.8, then you don't have to worry about storage charge. You can see that here, and temperatures as well. Keeping an eye on your temperatures, especially if you're doing a lot of speed running or bashing with maybe a higher pinion than you should be. The next item we have is settings. It's under telemetry. If we go here, you can change things like the contrast of your display and an active alarm. You've got tactile feedback with this radio, so there's some vibrations and sounds you can adjust, and you can also calibrate your radio here. Finally, to wrap this up, looking at our main display page, you can see we're hooked up with the DSMR receiver and we have good reception. The transmitter battery voltage is 4.9 remaining. We've got it with the smart battery. This is the laser nut. Steering rate is set to 100%. We've got a stopwatch there. We can click G, that will begin the timer. Click it again, that will stop the timer. We've got our steering and throttle trim set to 0. You can adjust that here and on the switch down here. Brake, we've got brake set to 100%. If we wanted to reduce it, that's set up to F. So we can bring that back and you'll see that brake has come back down to 94. Auxiliary 1 and 2 is set up with your AVC, and then auxiliary 3 we have set up with nothing. And that is how you set up the Spektrum DX5 Rugged with your RC car. So in conclusion, this radio feels great in the hand and is a fantastic upgrade for all your RC ground vehicles. A couple of things I would like to see in perhaps the next update of this radio would be a rechargeable battery, and for it to come with the cable, so you can update the firmware with this. You do need to buy the cable separately, but overall can highly recommend this radio, and is a fantastic solution to having 20 radios and you only need to have this one.
And as always guys, we're going to have this linked in the description box down below along with the other colour options if you are interested.
And our next video coming is going to be an exciting one. You don't want to miss it, so if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and the bell so you're notified exactly when we post it.
If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a like anyway. Make sure you're staying safe out there on your RC adventures.
I'm Joe.
I'm Amber.
We're the RC Kiwis, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.